Okay, so the next question is, how many bridesmaids, how many are too many? I would say it depends on the wedding and how big your wedding is. But let's say if you had 40 total guests coming to your wedding and 20 of those were bridesmaids, that's a little bit too many.
Proportion is key.
Like the idea behind the bridesmaids is your bridesmaids should be your closest friends. That's really the idea behind it, I think. So it depends on the scale. Like if you have 400 people, 20 bridesmaids might actually be appropriate. Mm-hmm. Basically, depending on your venue, if you have, let's say the venue is 20 feet wide, like the aisle of where everybody's sitting is 20 feet wide, maybe 40 feet. And on each side, if you have 20 bridesmaids and they go like outside of the chairs, that might be a lot. But it's really the people that you value the most. Like you want your bridesmaids to be the people that you value the most in your life. Do know though that they all have to buy the dresses usually. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a little key thing to remember.
Well, and also photographically speaking, depends on the size of the venue as well. Mm-hmm. Say you're in a church, a rather large church, and you have 15 bridesmaids, for example, and groomsmen. If you're standing up at top and you can have all your bridesmaids staggered on the 5 steps down to the bottom floor throughout, right, that may look wonderful and appropriate and everybody's spread out. However, if you're having a wedding outside on flat ground and you have 15 people all the way out in a line and 15 groomsmen all the way out in a line, that's a little bit more difficult to get the whole entire wedding ceremony, wedding party in one shot during the ceremony. It's possible. Oh, yeah. Totally possible, but it's just that much wider. Also, another thing to consider is that the larger the wedding party, the longer it will take to get group shots if you're interested in group shots afterwards.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, like it can take a lot longer, whereas a normal shot may take 5 minutes to get, just on average if you average it all out. Let's say if you have 30 or more party members, bridal party members, then you're talking probably a little bit past 5 minutes just to get everybody situated for that shot.
Yeah, situated, coordinated. The more people there are for your formal group shots, the more chances there are for somebody to wander off to the bathroom or have to take care of their child or whatever. So.
Yeah, so keep that in mind as well. But I would say, like this last one with Morgan and Charlie that we just photographed, their wedding, they had probably 15 on each side.
They did have 15 bridesmaids and 15 groomsmen.
It was fine. Like it looked fine. They had a big church. It was in a very large church with steps, and it did look good where everybody was kind of separated out. They all know exactly where to go. Mm-hmm. And even during the photographs, it didn't take terribly too long. It
worked really well because they had steps to work with. If we were on flat ground,
that would have been
for that large amount of people, we would have had to probably group them together and stand on a ladder or a balcony to shoot down on them to get them in a clump rather than spread out.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty much the things to consider when you're thinking about how many bridesmaids and groomsmen you want to have.
Right. It's totally up to you. If you really want 15 to 20 bridesmaids and groomsmen, that's your choice, and don't let anyone discourage you from what you really want, but it's just a matter of scale and proportion and things like that.
Oh, and last thing, you don't have to have an even amount. Just my own recommendation personally, not even talking about photographically, just personally. If let's say the groomsman, let's say your groom, or if you're the groom, you have 1 or 2 best men or groomsmen you'd like to have, whereas the bride would like to have 10 bridesmaids. You know what? That's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
And same like if a groom wants to have, like he has a friend that's a woman and he'd love to have her on the groom side, do it.
Yeah. Well, the best situation for that we've seen is that a bride had a best friend that was a guy. She had bridesmaids and she had her best friend who was a guy. He wore the same colors as the bridesmaids. They all wore green. He wore a green shirt. The groomsmen wore white or black.
And he was in a suit.
And he was in a suit. So
it looked good.
It looked really nice.
And it really worked and it was meaningful. So yeah, I mean, just go for it.